All right, Lauren, welcome, welcome. I'm so excited to chat with you today. How are you?
I am so happy to be here.
Yay!
I'm glad we were able to turn this connection from an Instagram friendship onto real life conversation.
Yes, and you guys, Lauren is probably she's humbling herself right now. She seriously pivoted an hour before we were supposed to have an Instagram live, and I was like, "Hey, Lauren, what do you think about actually making this into a podcast episode?" And true to herself, said, "Absolutely, let's do the darn thing."
I love it.
So great.
I love a good podcast episode. I was listening to a podcast before this. I think it's such good content and I feel
Yes.
like we can get a little bit deeper. So I'm excited.
Absolutely. And there's so many different content repurposing we were talking about just a little behind the scenes that we can utilize from this. So I'm super excited for our conversation and just really grateful that you were so willing to pivot. So let's dive into what we're going to chat about today. And I have to say, I am really excited to chat about this because I haven't talked to anybody about the legality things behind your business as an entrepreneur. So before we jump in, please introduce yourself and what it is that you do.
I am Lauren Boyd. I am the founder of a boutique law firm out here in Phoenix, Arizona. And I really started this as a solo venture. I was in corporate law, knew that that wasn't kind of my calling, that wasn't where I was going to end my career,
Mhm.
and always had this itch that pulled me into entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And I've just really loved it. It's been a really great ride. And we've since kind of expanded our resources. Not only do we have a law firm that specializes in supporting like Arizona businesses, we also do trademarks nationwide, but
Yeah.
we've also created contract templates, a podcast. We've really doubled down on all of these things that we can like serve and empower entrepreneurs with. So it's just been a really fun journey.
I mean, that probably doesn't do it justice. You have a contract for literally everything. Everything.
We do.
I was going through all the things that you have and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't even think of this." And you have a contract for it. So let's like dive headfirst into that. I mean, why first of all, I would love to hear why you decided to go into the boutique law firm side of things and providing these types of contracts for small business owners and entrepreneurs.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was in corporate law, loved the experience that I had there. I just knew I grew up in an entrepreneurial household. My husband did as well, and actually we were dating. He was my boyfriend at the time, and I was like, I think I want to leave my really nice, comfortable, corporate law job and start my own firm. And he was like, you should do it. So then I married him, obviously, because we really I saw this vision. I just knew it was something that we so I love the relationship. Our firm is so relationship focused with our clients.
Mhm.
It's they've become so many of them are we're there for such big milestones in their life and in their business.
Yeah.
A lot of them have become friends. So that is so fulfilling. We've really grown roots,
Mhm.
locally with our local clients, but then we were continuing to get requests to go into trademark and we were like, well, okay, so I've brought on more attorneys to the team. We have an incredible team of wonderful people, and we've really grown and expanded our practice to help people own their brands through a trademark.
Yeah.
And when we were starting to think about like the mix of things that we could offer people when it came to
Mhm.
contract templates, I'll be honest, this was a COVID project.
Yeah.
Um, I was saying, you know what, there's so many things we do in and out every day in our business that we give to
Mhm.
clients, that we give them these tools to use in their toolbox that they get to
Mhm.
repurpose through their business. Like, why can't I make that easier? Because I can't draft
Mm.
everybody's NDA or privacy
Mhm.
policy or independent contractor agreement. How can we make it easier? And so
Right.
I started to look around. Of course, there is other contract, shops out there, but we
Mhm.
wanted to make a really unique spin on it. So for us, it's buy what you need. We
Yeah.
don't believe that you need everything, and definitely not
Mhm.
everything all at once. Buy
Yeah.
what you need. We have implementation guides because I don't want you to just get a digital drop down, like a little zip folder that just has,
Yeah.
your contract. I want you to know and feel empowered how to use it. So
Absolutely.
I kind of said, like, if I'm going to do this, like I knew that this is something I could do, but I was like, I'm not going to do it until we can do it really well. And so when we had time with COVID, I sat down and said, well, what do we need? I want to make sure that if you ever buy a contract template, you get any future updates for free. We just
Mhm.
drop you an email and we say, hey, it's the
Wow.
tapping on your shoulder. Hey, we did some updates. We think it's probably time anyway for you to take a look at your contract, make sure it feels good, but plus here's the new stuff that we have for you. So we do that. We do video tutorials. So it's actually me or someone on my team that will walk a video you through like a recorded video tutorial, giving you
Mhm.
like tips and tricks on how to actually populate it. And
Mhm.
then we give you an implementation guide, which is like, okay, I'm maybe, for example, our independent contractor agreement. I'm really excited to have my first service agreement in place. I've never asked anyone to sign a contract. How do I do that? So we even
Yeah.
have like little like tips on like what you can say in an email or what systems we like for you to get it digitally signed.
Yeah.
We put these tips in your hands so that
Mhm.
in 30 minutes or less, you have a contract template. You don't only have the contract template, but you know what to do with it and
Wow.
you feel empowered by it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So many things. Holy cow. I'm like sitting over here in awe, like, hot dang, you guys really have thought of everything. Absolutely
Yeah.
everything. Now, okay, I'm gonna speak from the business owner perspective of maybe I'm just starting out, and a
Mhm.
lot of times I see this a lot. So many business owners focus on the marketing and the branding and the front of house aspects of their business, and they completely neglect, or they just let their back office get so disarrayed and disorganized and it's chaotic, that they don't even know where to start. So if you had it your way, if you were somebody came to you and said, I want to start a business in dreamland, right? In dreamland, somebody says, here's my business plan, this is what I think, I want to do, this is who I want to serve. I mean, are you also walking people through and asking them, hey, do you offer this? Well, you need a contract. This is the contract you would do. And if you do this, you need this is your contract for you. Is that something that you also provide? Are you sitting down with the very beginner entrepreneur and going through stuff like that?
So that's a really good topic. We cover a lot of those kind of content in our episodes, like our podcast
Great.
episodes,
Yes.
and really hit the like what you should be thinking about as a new entrepreneur. We really do see our shop as like when you're in the DIY stage of your entrepreneurship journey,
Mhm.
because I get it. We all have to be scrappy when we start. I get
Yeah.
that there's a lot of things on your plate. So give yourself grace. Not
Hmm.
everything has to happen all at once, but know that some of these foundational items are going to give you peace of mind. And I actually say that a big part of your legal foundation and having some of these things in place is going to actually make you play a little bit bigger, because I
Yeah.
think sometimes it's a mindset thing. Like,
Yeah.
if we don't feel totally comfortable in maybe the risks or, our payment terms or some of that back end stuff, right? That we're talking about,
Hmm.
like our contracts, we're probably not going to go after the really big deal. We probably think of ourselves as a little too small, a little too scrappy for something of that.
Yeah.
But when you double down and you get some of those things in place, you're going to feel a little bit more empowered in your brand. So if you came to me first, so
Yes.
for people who are saying, I know I need a contract, I've gone to the shop, I'm not exactly sure. We have an incredible team member on our team. She's not an attorney, but she is so well versed in our resources. I can't give
Hmm.
legal advice as just a
Yeah.
customer of our shop.
Hmm.
Um, but she will be really like, if you say, hey, this is what I'm doing, is this contract right for me? She
Yeah.
will actually communicate back and forth with you to make sure you feel like you're buying the right contract.
Yeah.
So we've got a team member for
That's
that. You
awesome.
contact her on the shop.
Yeah.
But when it comes to, if I could sit down with, every new entrepreneur and say, hey, these are the things to be thinking about.
Mhm.
You nailed it on the head. We spend so much time focusing on the logo, the name, the branding, the website.
Mhm.
But I have to say, one of the first things that comes to mind with me there is a trademark.
Yeah.
Now, a trademark is something that I've heard this before. Well, what if I'm still really small? Like
Mm.
I'm just kind of like small, I'm just kind of local. If you have a digital presence and you're putting your business out there and you want it to grow, whether you're a service provider, a retail provider, digital products, physical products, we're all have this digital footprint. And not only am I afraid of someone taking your content, but unfortunately, what I've seen before is that you may be completely unknowingly using somebody else's. So you might be
Mhm.
building your brand on someone else's property.
Wow.
And I've listened, unfortunately, to tears of clients saying,
Oh,
I just got a cease and desist. What do you think? And I've had to tell them, like, unfortunately, there's
yeah.
really nothing you can do. They have a registered trademark. They've already been using it. The overlap is just too strong. You
Yeah.
have exactly the same name, and they really didn't know. And
Yeah.
so I would tell people, make sure you do a USPTO basic word search. You can do that on the uspto.gov website. Our
Mhm.
team, of course, goes more extensive. We look through business listings, like any use on the website, on the internet. We do a deep dive,
Yeah.
and we will give you a line of sight into what that potential brand that you're thinking about building or have already built, what the line of sight of like any potential problems there's going to
Yeah.
be for you. And we do that in 2 weeks. If you file
Wow.
your own trademark, right now we're taking 5 or 6 months to hear back from the USPTO on an application. So
Mhm.
meanwhile, 5 or 6 months, you're continuing to invest and build your brand and your brand recognition.
Mhm.
You're kind of like sitting there a little uncomfortable that whole time.
Is sitting duck.
Yeah, you feel like
Yeah.
this is either going to go good or really bad. And then what if I get bad news? What am I going to do?
Right.
So we like to tell people, getting some of that comprehensive search done on the front end and
Yeah.
having an expert that can help you is probably one of the most, the biggest things you can do for peace of mind. And trust me, I've been
Mhm.
there. I've done the messy action and the
Mm.
like, I love this name. Let's launch it. Let's do it. I've done those things in my business.
Yeah.
But then I've had to pivot when it doesn't work out. So I'm speaking from
Yeah.
firsthand experience there. So when we're
Yeah.
talking about branding and those first things that we're thinking about,
Mhm.
really, and I've heard wonderful advice from business coaches is really we need the proof of concept. Work on your
Mhm.
back end, really
Yes.
land a great client, build out the system, make sure
Mhm.
the brand that you want to build and you want to invest in is something that you can own and therefore continue to leverage. There's so many values to owning a trademark, the ability to
Mhm.
license it. It's a revenue stream all in itself.
Yeah.
So that's one piece, but that back end side we were talking about is really our system on enrolling clients. We used Obsato, we love it.
Mhm.
They sign a contract, we get them into our system. It feels good. Contacting them is easy.
Yeah.
That part of the process is so important. And there's
Mhm.
ways to use contracts that just slides right in there with your
Yeah.
doesn't have to feel like this. We had this really great relationship going, and then I made it awkward with the contract because I've heard
Yeah.
people say that. Well, how do I ask them to sign it? If someone doesn't want to sign your contract, that should be a red flag for you.
Big time. Big time.
So thinking about that, like really stepping into, what a really big client is going to expect a contract, is going to
Yes.
expect this level of professionalism because your
Yeah.
contract is not only protecting you against them, it's
Mhm.
protecting both sides and it's making sure you're all on the same page.
Yeah.
So it really is kind of the most loving thing you can do for your clients and is going to be that really kind of next step
Yeah.
in getting your business started. So that's
Mhm.
great because it can help you set boundaries, deliverables, communication standards. It's going to talk about payment. It's going to allow you to really get those things taken care of. For
Yeah.
example, we have an independent contractor agreement. I love it. It's the most versatile thing on our contract site
Yeah.
because once you have a good base for these things, not only
Mhm.
might the people who purchase this use it for their services, but they can actually switch it around and use it when they hire an independent contractor that maybe doesn't have their own contract. So starting
Mm.
to have
Mhm.
these tools in your toolbox are
Yeah.
actually really make you feel good.
Yeah. And secure. I think that's a
Mhm.
really, really important factor about going into business for yourself and coining different methods or techniques
Mm,
for yourself. I myself come from a performing arts background, so I'm very well versed in um, the rights to music. So when Instagram was having these issues and business accounts can't have music, I know exactly why it is because there's copyright laws that Instagram has to abide by. Now, there's people that don't necessarily know this information, and I wouldn't expect them to unless you came from that kind of performing arts
Mm,
background. You have to have the rights to use certain materials. Your intellectual property, your creativity, your methods, your products also all fall under that spectrum, and protecting that is of the utmost importance, because just like you said, I mean, that poor lady, whoever, or whoever you had, was in tears of a cease and desist. I mean, she didn't know, but I mean, that's not going to fly. That, oh, I didn't know, it's still not
right.
going to fly, right? Like, that's still not going to get you out of the little sad mess you might have just made for yourself. So I think the
I,
biggest take that I have is protecting your work, protecting your intellectual property as well.
yeah, we like to say like it's owning your brand.
Yes.
Like everything you do is to own your brand. It's to give you peace of mind
Hmm.
because what I want you to do is we spend, I'm a content creator myself. We
Yeah.
spend a lot of time and effort like really thinking about what's going to serve our audience, what's going to serve
Hmm.
our clients and our customers. So it's not something you should just, you can't just, you know,
Glaze over.
think yeah, you can't glaze over. You can't just think it's going to take care of itself. And
Yeah.
honestly, I think there's so much peace of mind. There is the ability for you to up level when you've had these things taken care of.
Hmm.
When it comes to your intellectual property too, what people always think is protecting themselves against others. But I want to
Mm.
encourage people to also reframe that, right?
Yeah.
Like that's a part of it. But
Sure.
also, let's think about how having ownership, having an understanding of what rights you own is actually
Hmm.
allowing you to leverage those things. Being able to license your products, your know-how, your designs, whatever it might be, is actually a
Hmm.
whole nother revenue source. But
Yeah.
unless you protected it, you
Right.
actually can't license it. So we just
Mm.
had a client that came through this week. We were working on a big contract with a very well-known business, and
Yeah.
one of the things we were talking about is the designs of a font that they had developed. Their intern had developed. Well, I've been working with this
Oh,
business for a really long time.
yeah.
They have an employee handbook, they have a intellectual property release, we have all of the layers that
Yeah.
we could prove to said big company, yes, as an intern, we created this. My company owns the intellectual property, therefore we can license it for you to use. And that
Wow.
became that effort, that
Yeah.
design of
Yeah.
that intern became
Right.
something that was now a revenue source
Yeah.
for the business. And it was
Wow.
something that my business, the business, my client, they were able to own, they're going to use on other things,
Right.
but they were also able, so not only have they used it in their business, but they've
Hmm.
now leveraged that content once over and
Yeah.
turned it into a revenue source all in itself.
Wow. Oh, that's crazy. I would not have even thought of that route of being a source of income. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I took a peek at all of the contracts. So that's why I was so intrigued and just had to talk with you about just all the different contracts, because I'm very familiar, and I'm sure some of our listeners are too, of a non-disclosure and a non-compete, and the independent contractor. But share with us some of the other contracts of when you get on a coaching call with somebody, or when you hire out work to somebody else. Tell us some of those really unique contracts that maybe people aren't necessarily as familiar with, that they might actually need.
Yeah. So we wanted to really think about what was going to be the easiest for any of our customers coming in to populate.
Yeah.
There is unique considerations to someone who hosts an event
Hmm.
versus someone who does online coaching
Mm.
versus somebody who, is going to do a mastermind or has an online course. There's different considerations and things to be thinking about. For example, someone who's going to have a live event, they're going to want the ability to take photos and videos
Mm.
and republish the content. Well, what if I
Hmm.
walk through the frame? They technically need my permission in order to publish that content.
Right.
So
Wow.
thinking of those different things is why we've created such different contracts.
Yeah.
Um, one thing that I think is, so that's kind of why we have multiple versions. For a
Hmm.
coach, I want you to have the right, disclaimers in place that says,
Mm.
just because I myself make we'll make it sound sexy, 7 figures. And, I'm going to teach you, right? We've all seen those
Yes.
pitches. I make 7 figures. I'm going to teach you how to make 7 figures, or
Right.
that's part of the name. You can't guarantee, you can't
Right.
guarantee the person's going to do the work. You can't guarantee that someone is going to have success. You don't know these things. Though you can give them the best information possible, you
Right.
can't hold their hand. It's not your business to launch or to run. You can't ensure that's going to happen. So as a coach, I want to make sure you have the proper disclaimers that says, I can give you the best advice, but I am not responsible. This is not a promise or a guarantee of results. And going through kind of all the disclaimers that have that same feel.
Right.
For example, if you were to have a mastermind, we all know that having a group of people together that are interacting, not everyone's necessarily going to click. I've been very lucky in the masterminds I'm in, but what if someone goes rogue and starts talking about, like, I'm very open with my mastermind group about what I'm doing, what I'm thinking about launching.
Sure.
You need a level of confidentiality.
Yes.
You need, standards on how they're going to interact with each other. And if someone abuses those standards, you need to be able to remove them from the group.
Right.
You need these levels of respect and decorum versus if you're an online one-on-one coach, that looks different.
Yeah. Wow.
I thought about those different things. Big thing in my independent contractor agreement, because I am huge on boundaries.
Yes.
Our firm is only open 4 days a week. We don't have a texting policy. You may not text us as a client. You can, we have a team. I need to be able to copy and forward. And I'll be honest, I am not good at texting. So maybe this is not someone else's boundary. This is my boundary. But we've created room in our independent contractor agreement that says, these are our office hours. These are our communication standards. These are our boundaries. Thinking about your contract as an opportunity to set those expectations is also so those are really great things.
Yeah. I didn't even think of, and now I'm looking back on our notes from our chat of setting boundaries. And I would love to touch on that before we kind of wrap this up with a beautiful legal contract bow.
Perfect.
The boundaries. I mean, you and I definitely talked about this, but how that can play such a huge role in your business, whether you're a solopreneur or you're hosting masterminds like you were talking about, or hosting events, but setting those boundaries. And now I'm like, my wheels are turning, like, oh, wow. Yep. I definitely need to do a little fine tuning in the back office here. But talk to us how setting those boundaries, and that you can actually do it through these contracts that you set with clients and with your coaching or with your offers, and some things. I mean, you gave some examples of, we're only open 4 days a week. This is when we're available. Texting is a no-go, or maybe texting is your only go. But talk to us a little bit about what the importance of setting those boundaries too.
Yeah. So for example, I know, my coach, I can text her, I can voice memo her, I can Voxer her. There's all of these channels that work for her. Some coaches like to only Voxer because you can speed it up and they don't want to necessarily text. Everybody has their ideal platform and how they want to communicate with people.
Right.
Someone wants to communicate with clients on Trello and Slack. They don't want texting, or they really want you certain platforms. We all have our preferences in what makes our team work best.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, when I implemented some of these boundaries into my team, I was a little bit nervous. I was thinking to myself, what is someone going to think when I send them a Calendly link? What is someone going to think when we're 4 days a week? What is someone going to think? But what I didn't realize is that me paving the way so this goes for coaches or anyone that's influential with their clients. My client said, I love that you set these boundaries, and it gave me permission to do the same. How do I take what you did and implement this into my business? So we put those in our contract templates. We talk about with our clients all the time. But it's those boundaries that really set, a clear expectation, get everybody on one page, and set the relationship up for success. So that's absolutely huge to think about. So just identifying how your team works best. Just because you've done it in the past doesn't mean you need to keep doing it. Just because you set the boundary in your contract doesn't mean you can't break it every once in a while, but it's allowing you to set a stronger baseline. I use shorthand, like text, like if I type in by email, all is one word in my text messaging, You can set it up under keyboards.
Yes.
It actually will type out a really nice message that says, thanks for reaching out to me. However, I'm going to need you to send this to me via email. Email communication allows me better to involve my team and for us to serve you when I'm back in the office. Something of that
Beautiful.
sort of like
Yeah.
rambling it off. But like
Yes.
things like that, tools like that allow you, it's now easier for me to enforce the boundary than it is for me to respond to their text message. So
Right.
creating little things like that is going to
Yes.
help you keep those boundaries in place and really
Yes.
respect them.
Mhm.
Another thing I love is don't just put it in your contract. We actually mention it in our onboarding emails that go out with our contract,
Mm. Mhm.
a few key points for you to be thinking about, finding other ways to remind people and set that expectation, not just
Right.
letting it live in one place. You can't put it in your contract and then text them anyway. You can't put it in your contract
Mhm.
and then never tell them it otherwise and assume they know. So
Right.
keeping those things in mind. And another big thing, and I don't know why this is coming to me, but I wanted to talk about it.
I love
Whoever
it.
this
Come
is
on.
for, whoever this is for, if you
Yes.
have independent contractors or you have employees or interns, I want you to make sure that you, as the business owner, own the content, because a boundary I actually see all the
Mhm.
time is, can the independent contractor, employee, intern use the content that they create in their portfolio? And I think a lot
Mm.
of people assume, however, whatever that person wants to do, they just have to roll with. And that's just not
Mhm.
true. There's a clause in the copyright law that is a concept of work made for hire.
Yeah.
So put it in your internship agreements, put it in your independent contractor agreements, put it in
Yeah.
your employee handbook, your offer letters.
Yeah.
Set the expectation, because when you pay someone to create a product for you, a deliverable for you,
Yes.
you, copyright law, should own the content. But if their
Yes.
contracts otherwise, or if you're not properly setting the expectation, then you're going to have to go in and reinforce that expectation. So
Yes.
putting it in your contract ahead of time will create that boundary that reminds them, you created the content, but here's, the business owns it. Because you
Yes.
have to think about not only what that feels like to you to have your intern posting a portfolio, or an employee who left your company posting all the work they did on your behalf and under your
Yeah.
direction. Not only
Yeah.
do you have to think about how that's going to feel, but what if
Mhm.
you maybe are an agency and you're creating content for clients? How are
Mhm.
they going to feel when your intern
Oh
or
my
your
gosh.
independent contractor is posting their content?
Oh my gosh, that gives me anxiety even just thinking about it. It hasn't even happened. Oh my gosh, that would make me,
It
no, I
happens.
think I would just ram my head into a brick wall like a million times over. Oh my gosh, that would be a nightmare.
I have gotten that call so many times.
Oh
So I think
gosh.
when we're talking about boundaries, we've talked about your boundaries is how you operate with clients, but
Yes.
let's think about your team and how you interact with them. You need
Yeah.
to make sure that as the business, you own the content that you
Yeah.
intend to either use as your business, right?
Mhm.
Leverage, license, however you're going to use it, that you want to own it. But
Mhm.
especially if you're going to pass that content off to another client, you need to have, in order to give those rights away,
Yeah.
you need to own those rights. I'm not saying that as a business owner, you can't publish your portfolio of the work you work with clients, but make sure you set
Mhm.
that expectation in your contract. And
Absolutely.
you probably don't want your intern, employee, independent contractor doing the same thing. That's not going to be a good look.
Right.
So thinking about those things, those boundaries, what feels good to you in the way you work
Yes.
with your team. Someone listening to this might go, you know what, that doesn't bother me. They can post it in their portfolio. Then
Mm,
that's
mhm.
great. Give
Yeah.
them that right. That is a benefit of working with you. If
Right.
that doesn't feel good to you, let's button it up.
Yeah, let's button it up. That's perfect. Honestly, such good information, and fairly awakening too. I think as business owners, we really do wear so many hats. And that's why the importance of outsourcing things, especially legality things just like this, that we might overlook and glaze over, as we said before. Don't do it. You're doing yourself and your work and your content and your business and the people that are working for you and the people that are hiring you a strong disservice when you don't take these back office steps And it may not seem like the most fun thing to do. I'm honestly super entranced with everything you're saying. Like, oh yeah, yes, this, that, and the third. Absolutely. It's one of those things that it should be a non-negotiable, in my opinion, for a what you were saying at the beginning. It levels up your game. It makes you like a big dog when you take it seriously to then go get the legal contracts that you need so that your business and everything in it and around it just runs smoothly.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
good. Oh my gosh, so many good things and so many good nuggets that you shared today. So before we close this out, please share where how people can find work and connect with you.
Best way, honestly, find us on Instagram, the Lauren Boyd on Instagram. And if any of these like topics kind of were intriguing to you, we probably have a podcast episode on them. So
Mm,
show on Apple, on Spotify, on all the platforms. We also have our show notes on our blog on thelaurenboyd.com. So going through, I like to say like just even knowing, even starting to think about these red flags
yeah.
is one step forward. There's so much grace. We're all business owners. We are all busy. We've all
Yeah.
had to take messy action. Give yourself grace, but think
Hmm.
about the one next thing that is going to bring you more peace of mind in your business. And we hope that it's something in the shop. We hope that our trademarking services can be that when it comes to your legal foundation. But reach out to me, DM me. I will connect you. If you have a shop question, I'm going to connect you with our expert on our team to help you find the right one. Because everything that you do, I want our team is always thinking about. We want to make sure that you're investing in the future of your business and
Hmm.
not doing more than you need to right now. Let's focus on priorities so that you can focus and really focus on your business and do so for the next level and get ready to scale.
So beautiful. Love it. Love it. Thank you so much for joining me today and sharing all of your wonderful knowledge. All of her connection, her links are going to be in the show notes for you guys to connect with her. Thank you again so much, Lauren. This was wonderful.
Thank you. It was an honor to be with you.